thank you all for coming. The purpose for this is that this is the week of the 230th anniversary of the Battle of Fallen Timbers, which is a very significant battle in American history, considered to be in the top three, right up there with Yorktown and Gettysburg in terms of significance. And here it is, right in our own backyard. So, I am with the Fallen Timbers Battlefield Commission, and our mission is to preserve and protect the history of this site, and we do that with various programming, website, and a couple of other things we do. And we always want to celebrate this anniversary because we think it's really important to think at least once or twice every year about the sacrifices that were made by the men that gathered here on August 20th of 1794. A fair number of those men who never went home from here. And a number of them, this is their last resting place. And so we would like to impress upon people that when traveling through this Metro Park, whether you're walking your dog, jogging, or whatever brings you here, please think about those who came and never left. Because those are the ones who made the sacrifices for their families, for freedom, and for the right to gain land and hold land in this area. So I have a couple special guests with me here tonight, and I have invited them to say a few words in honor of this anniversary as well. For those who are interested, if you do not have a ticket, we are, after this event, at 6:15 to 6:30, we will start with a lantern tour of the battlefield. And when you go on this tour, first of all, it's to the bridge and then coming back, so it's not the full circuit of the walk. Secondly, you are going to meet 5 individuals who will tell you their story and how they are connected to this battle. So hang out if you want, and we can get you signed up for a tour if you would like. I'd like to introduce Tim Pedro. Tim is the mayor of Waterville. I want to say a special thanks to Tim because this year, the rest of our anniversary event takes place in Waterville. The reason for that is Waterville is right between this battlefield and Roche de Boeuf. Roche de Boeuf figured very seriously into this matter, and all of those individuals, whether they were soldiers or natives, would have walked right through where Waterville is today, either moving away from the battlefield or moving to the battlefield. And so that's why this year we decided to hold our event in Waterville. And we are also hosting for the very first time that's ever been done, a museum in honor of this anniversary that is at Wakeman Hall. So if you want, come see us. That opens tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And at 3 o'clock tomorrow, we have a component of the 338th Military Band, Army Band will be there to play at Wakeman Hall. And you can come and support our current military as well. Tim, I'm going to hand the mic to you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, we live in a great country, and it's really great having young people here today, younger than me and a lot of us. These 3 young children over there, if they are willing to come to the microphone, I'd like you to help me out. Would you like to walk up here? You walk up with your mom or dad or grandpa. All right, look at this. All right, there you got your partner, right? Okay. What's your name?
Tell me your name. Penelope.
Penelope, that's a pretty name. What's your friend's name here?
Which brother's name? Gus.
Gus? All right, what we're going to do, you might know how to do this. We're going to have you help me recite the Pledge of Allegiance, okay? It's right over here. Flag right there. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Gus. You know, it's an honor to be here to celebrate the 230th anniversary of this battle. And as Julie mentioned, it's pretty interesting on these sacred grounds that we take for granted. I moved out to Waterville about 33 years ago and didn't know the significance of this particular property. But over the years, you learn things as history continues on, and you learn about the great event that took place here. So we're glad to recognize this battlefield in this area of our region. I want to also thank the committee led by Julie and her team, because think about it. There's not a lot of these activities that take place to recognize our history. And we learn from our history. And we learn from all the things that take place in the last 230 years. Now, I know I wasn't here 230 years ago. Maybe some of you were. But it's good to have that recognition. And we're also pleased from the City of Waterville's perspective to host this event in our town tomorrow and Sunday. What's interesting is the Historical Society, which is also part of this organization, is opening up their Wakeman Hall. They get do some remodeling. And I really would encourage you to stop down and see all the artifacts and all the history going forward there. So on behalf of the City of Waterville and all the citizens, I also want to recognize one of our council members, Wayne Wagner. Wayne is in the back there. Yeah, we give him a round of applause. That's all right. So, again, we salute all the soldiers that fought here and took the time for us today to recognize them in the history here. And the last thing I ask of you, I know a lot of people couldn't be here today, but when you go home tonight, tomorrow, you talk to that neighbor or perhaps your family member, tell them about this program. Tell them about this event. Tell them about this location. And they will be more informed about what took place here in the battle. So again, Julia, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Next, I would like to introduce Philip Leinbach, who's with the Maumee City Council.
You. So, as a first-term elected official, I'm sticking to my prepared notes. Tim's got a lot more experience in that arena. Let's speak off the cuff, but that's great. I'm also, in listening to what's been said, found out that there were two phrases that I planned on using too, so I'm going to have to drop those out. But this is how I wanted to start. Boston, Massachusetts has Bunker Hill. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania has Valley Forge. Yorktown, Virginia has Yorktown. And Maumee and Waterville have Fallen Timbers. And it is right here. All of these places, places where significant events occurred in the history of our country, and they're all recognized as historic national sites. Each location has its own story to tell. Anniversaries like the one being recognized today and this weekend are appropriate times to remind ourselves of these events and their significance. So what is significant about this site that's right here, that we're standing right here, so close to where we live? And as was mentioned, on this site in 1794, 230 years ago, two armies engaged in mortal combat. Both parties in the conflict were fighting to maintain control of the land, so their people could live on it the way they wished. The decisive battle has been called the final battle of the Northwest Indian Wars. Major General Anthony Wayne's victory here made possible the opening of the Northwest Territory for continued westward expansion and settlement, and ultimately the addition of Ohio to the map of the United States. Now, all of us can take advantage of the educational material that's available at Wakeman Hall, here on the battlefield trail itself, in our local historical societies, and just the other events that are taking place, not just at Wakeman Hall, but other spots too. And you're going to be able to take advantage of those resources to learn about the time, the people, and the land where this battle was fought, how it was fought, and perhaps most importantly, why it was fought. In closing, and I just have this final note saying that anniversaries are times to reflect upon events of the past. Why should we remember these stories of what happened? I had two quotes used. One was from Cicero, and one was from David McCullough. The one from David McCullough was pretty straightforward. He said, noted author David McCullough said, history is who we are and why we are the way we are. Cicero, for those who are interested, I know there's probably at least one person here is an ancient Roman philosopher. To be ignorant of what occurred before you were born is to remain always a child. For what is the worth of human life unless it is woven into the life of our ancestors by the records of history? So this site, and all the information that we have available to tell us about what happened here is a huge asset to our communities. It's an historical, cultural, and educational treasure. The preservation of this historic site allows us and future generations to remember our past and the lessons that it holds. So like Mayor Pedro and Julia, I thank you for coming and participating in this event today. It's worth our time. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. I'm going to close today. First of all, we have received a couple of proclamations in honor of the anniversary, and I'm going to read the one that, Josiah? I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yes, that's okay.
I'm sorry. I miscommunicated.
That is okay. I was asked to give a bit of context for why it is that this battle is so important, especially considering that, as it's mentioned, it's one of the three most, often called one of the three most important battles, and yet I think if you surveyed most Americans, they'd say the Battle of what? They wouldn't have much clue of what was going on here, especially when you consider some of the other battles that are listed in that pantheon of battles in American history. And a lot of it comes down to the time just after the American War for Independence. The Americans and the British signed a treaty in Paris called the Treaty of Paris that gave the Americans this land. It was then called the Ohio Country and the Illinois Country. But the British did not leave. They kept their military garrisons here because they weren't sure if this whole American country thing was going to work out. And so you try and make sure you have all your bases covered. And they kept their military bases here. They kept working with Indian confederacies to resist American expansion. And the United States had to try to find a way to stake its claim to this land that it had legally according to the treaty. And in the time leading up to this battle in 1790 and then in 1793, the United States Army suffered two of the most decisive defeats in its history, even to this day, such that General Washington, then President Washington's administration, was under a great deal of pressure. And there were the French, the Spanish, everyone was watching to see how this would pan out. And then it was George Washington's choice of General Mad Anthony Wayne to lead his troops to fight here at this battle, which was the pendulum swing in victory that allowed the United States to win this war. And while we can't talk about the what-ifs of history, the big what-if here is what happened if General Anthony Wayne lost. And given the things that the British were pushing for, it's highly likely that the United States would have had to come to a negotiated settlement with the British and with the Indians to turn this area actually into another country. It would have been some sort of buffer state, either given back to England or ceded entirely to the Native American tribes. So consider that, the United States stopping at the Appalachian Mountains with then multiple other countries on this continent as a result. So this battle, though people might not realize it, this battle that does belong in that list of three, and I wish more people would know about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Josiah. And picking up on what Josiah just told you about the Spanish, one of the fun facts that I like to tell people is, and most people don't know, as Anthony Wayne finally got orders from Washington to move north, to start to approach from the Cincinnati, what would be the Cincinnati area to the Defiance area, 5 Spanish gunships came into the Ohio River behind him. So that's an interesting fact, and it shows you how much the Spanish were also interested. You want to learn more? Come to our museum. All right. So Senator Hicks Hudson did send us a proclamation, and I just want to read it because I think it's very well worded. It says, on behalf of the members of the Senate of the 135th General Assembly of Ohio, we are pleased to extend special recognition to the Fallen Timbers Battlefield Preservation Commission on its commemoration of the 230th anniversary of the Battle of Fallen Timbers, August 23 through 25, 2024. After various clashes between Americans and native tribes in the Northwest Territory, Major General Mad Anthony Wayne took command of the U.S. Army and led his well-trained troops in a campaign against the Northwest Indian Confederation, starting in the fall of 1793 and culminating in an American victory on August 20, 1794, at a site on the Maumee River that became known as the Battle of Fallen Timbers. Since its inception in 1995, the Fallen Timbers Battlefield Preservation Commission has striven to preserve and promote the unique history of the military engagement that led to American treaties with native tribes and their British supporters and opened the Northwest Territory to settlement. And the 230th anniversary of the battle is a memorable milestone. Indeed, the organization is to be commended for its tremendous efforts to ensure that the important details of our past are transmitted to succeeding generations for their reflection and appreciation. In this modern era, in which the durability of goods and values is often measured in months and days rather than in years and decades, it is not only enlightening, but also satisfying to discover that some representations of the past still stand for future generations as a record of and a monument to previous achievements. The Fallen Timbers Battlefield Preservation Commission has certainly made a positive contribution to our state and nation, maintaining the rich heritage of bygone days. Thus, with genuine pride, we salute the Fallen Timbers Battlefield Preservation Commission on its observance of the 230th anniversary of the Battle of Fallen Timbers and salute all those taking part in this event. To echo what you just heard, I want to thank you all for coming to this event. Again, I welcome any of you to stay and go on the character hike that we have happening, the Lantern Tour this evening. I think you'll enjoy it. The last time this happened was 5 years ago, and no one really knows when it might happen again. So you might want to take the advantage now. If you would all give me a couple moments, I do have an anniversary pin that I would like to give to each of you for coming and participating and sharing this opening ceremony with us. And I just forgot to bring them from my car, and I'll be right back. So don't go anywhere.